Today, I'm going to go through and show you my exact tips on what I do to keep this tank crystal clear. It is my show tank as of right now until I deal with this one over here. But what do I do to keep this thing pristine and clean and tell you my bi-weekly cleaning regimen so that you can also have a crystal clear tank. So without further ado, let's hop on in to number one. So first what I'm going to go through and do is scrape the glass. That's the first most important thing is scraping, first one, turn off your filter. I don't want all the debris going everywhere. I want it to settle because I'm going to vacuum it up if there's any diatom algae on this glass. So let me go through and turn off the filter. All right, so now with the filter unplugged, I just go through and scrape the glass. Typically I do this top part first since it's such a small glass scraper for this tank. So I'll go through, do the top, then I'll come down, do the bottom half. Then I'll go through and finish the rest. Now the main reason why we go through and clean the glass is just more of an aesthetic thing. It's not necessarily bad to have algae on the glass, especially if you have shrimp, but you wouldn't be able to see in. So what I'm doing is specifically cleaning this for more of an aesthetic thing. So I only ever scrape the front glass. I never come and scrape the side glass or the back glass. Typically that gets taken care of by my Neurite snails. Just the front glass for this microalgae in case I'm not able to see it, especially when I'm doing macro filming. So just go through, scrape the glass, just like this. And as you see is when I'm coming down to the bottom, I'm not trying to waft too much out, I'm going slow. Reason being is I want to scrape it down to this substrate because I'm going to vacuum it up later. So this is a two-part cleaning. That's why the filter's off. So that doesn't push all this diatom around. Now that's step number one. We went through and cleaned it. I have this old feeding. Maybe I don't want to use those. Oh, there they are. So I have this old feeding stick that I didn't take out when I was feeding my shrimp and other bottom feeders. But next step is to go through and drain some of the water. So this is essentially a water change, but it's twofold. Basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be pulling water out, mainly to clean the substrate in the front. Now I have a lot of these Amazon beads. Well, they're not Amazon beads, they're Ultimate Nature Contro soil. They're just volcanic mineral beads. They poured out from this back right corner. So in this back right corner here, I have a ton of them in here. I have some behind here. And then some in the back left corner. Those were like my pocketed areas to help bring down pH. So basically, when I have my Caridina shrimp in here, it makes it more of an acidic environment. So what I need to go through and do is just clean this all up. I overpacked this area when I replanted all of this lush plant here. So as you can see, that lush, dense area over here is starting to grow in very nice. We have some plant issues here. I actually saw my Amano shrimp eating at these, and the only thing I can think of is that they were looking for new sources of food, and these plants are very soft in comparison to the other wide leaf plants that I have. So just being cautious of that. I haven't seen them do that in a while, but that's why these plants are not looking so healthy. So I fed them some more root tabs. Sometimes I do that, so if you're ever in the middle of this, you can use your root tabs. I use 2-hour Aquarius root tabs, the J, and just replenish that area to give them some more strength to continue growing. But without further ado, let's go through and show you some of the vacuuming techniques. All right, so I have this old jug that I usually used to get water from. My RDI water, it's just an extra one that I use. And then I just use a siphon. So this is what I'm gonna go through and use to siphon out all of these areas. So let's go through and show that. Now, you can prevent this flow from going as much by pinching it, But I don't necessarily need to. The thing I need to be more worried about is a lot of these shrimp that are in here. So you're just making sure you're wafting that area so that they're moving out of the way and you're not sucking them up. So as you see, I'm going around and just vacuuming all of this beads. You can use a magnet, some people do, but I just go through and vacuum them up whenever they pour over like that. It doesn't hurt the tank, it just doesn't look aesthetically pleasing. And of course, we have all of this life right here. So I'll plug it, pinch it, just let them know I'm coming through. Everyone move out the way, and I'll go through and suck everything up. Then I'll go through and just do a light vacuum right along the front ridge area, because this is right just where I did the glass scraping. So we'll come back over here. We'll do this opposite side. Now the way that this pulls in water, well, I guess with the water intakes, there's a lot of debris that picks up on this end. So I just vacuum around the plants as much as possible. Try not to suck up, and of course things happen, so we'll go through and replant that. A lot of debris picks up on this back end, so I just make sure I get this back end. It pushes a lot over here. That's probably why that plant's doing so well. And that's it. So now that I'm done with that, I just let it keep going for a little bit longer. Now what I will do also is up here in the top left, you'll see a bunch of floating plants. There may be too many, but we'll find that out together as we go through and assess that. But this is part number 2. Remember, number 1's glass scraping. Number 2 is going through and doing a water change, but at the same time, using that to the advantage of pulling out a lot of this diatoms that were built up on the glass. And as I pick up a couple more of these little beads in this area, we're almost good. There's some over here on this right side. You're like, hey Mike, I can't see, you're right. Just get some of these. Again, it's pouring over from this side. So just making sure I'm getting all of them up. Again, it doesn't hurt your tank, just more of aesthetic. So that's about good enough. That's about 15% water change. That's all you need to do. And of course, this new plant I just planted right here got a little bit uprooted. So what we'll do is just make sure we pinch this back in and we replant it. Again, this was a newer plant that I just placed in here. I had an old red one that was here, but again, the same thing happened. Found out these Amano shrimps were eating it. So I just replanted it right here. Get some more color so you have green with contrast. Again, super easy as you're going through and doing this. But let's go through, and last thing you want to do is right back here. I have a intake cover, and in this intake cover, you want to clean it bi-weekly. This is the one that goes prior into the filter. So this gets covered up with a lot of debris. So let's go through and clean that. It's very easy. I just pull this out here, untwist this back end here, pull this out, and then rinse it. All right, so now that that's done, I'm gonna wait to address this area here. I'm gonna let this thing fill up, because what I need to make sure is that there's enough room so that actual water gets through this lily pipe, so that it actually pulls off the water scum that gets built up. And there's a couple of dead stem plants here, so we'll take a couple of those out. I don't think they're from some that I cut and they just didn't grow back, which is fine. Happens in some areas. As you can see, I'm trying to grow back here a dense red. And basically sometimes what happens is if you trim them too short and then you trim them again right away, some of them won't grow back, but you can see it's starting to become very dense. But let's go through and fill this up. All right, so I have a pretty easy system in place. I have this. It's for a cleaner, but I don't use it for that. Basically it has a reverse siphon. All I do is I untwist this top here for my fill up, This is remineralized RODI water, specifically for Caridina shrimp. And then I just lean this over to here. So just like this. And then all I have to do is let gravity take its place. So I just reverse siphon a couple of times, get some water flowing. Oh, of course, the top was plugged here. So it's like, oh, I can't have any flow. Perfect. So just like that, reverse siphon. And then if you guys come over here, just like that, we got some steady flow, nothing too crazy. We let this just drip in and fill up. And then we'll address the floating plants if there's too many over here in that area. But you guys can see this peace lily here is just thriving. Well, I guess there's a little kind of dead one coming up here, but everything else looks great. So that was part of that back corner. And that's where a lot of my clown killies breed actually, which is pretty cool. But you can kind of see it's like a cove area with a bunch of stems that come out. Let's see if you focus, yeah, that area. But let's continue filling it up. All right, so I am gonna move some of these floaters away from that lily pipe that has that surface skimmer in it, but we're completely done. So we went through and cleaned out everything. First, number one, turn off the filter, then glass scraping. Then we went through and cleaned that substrate up. We cleaned up that intake filter. This is what I do on a bi-weekly basis to get this tank looking pristine all the time. Now this tank, on the other hand, has gone a little wild. You'll actually see that in the next video. But if you have any helpful bi-weekly tips for anyone listening in, as you're listening in as well, please put them in the comments below. And also, if you haven't checked out my latest video, check it out right here. And now, until next time, I'll see you all on the next tip video.